Welcome to live training session number 29, part 5. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at our cold start and operation on day 2 of this live training, as well as taking a look at some data off of our chassis dyno in our data logs using our Flashpro manager. So there's going to be a whole bunch of things to cover in this live training session. Let's jump in so we can check it out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our turbocharged 9th Gen Civic Si. Now yesterday, we did all of our tuning on this vehicle. So we dialed in our idle, part throttle, and wide open throttle areas of operation on the low and high cams. We dialed in our variable cam. We set our VTEC engagement. We even turned the boost up, and we found that we made about 400 horsepower. So the engine's making great power. Everything looks like it's dialed in. Everything looks like it's working correctly. Now this is going to be day 2 where the engine has sat overnight and it is cooled down. It's cold. We can take a look here on our screen. We're going to be seeing the coolant temperature and air temp are both reading 81 degrees. The dyno is actually showing about 82 degrees here, so the dyno bay is in the 80s right now. It is a warmer day, but the engine has sat overnight. It is cold. It has no heat in it, so the fuel is not going to be vaporizing and getting into the engine as easily. It's going to have poor atomization on a cold engine. Even though the temperature here isn't really cold, 20-30 degrees, we're still going to find that we have to add a little bit extra fuel when it fires off. We're also going to have the condition where we also have to account for a little bit extra fuel when we're cranking and firing over the engine. So we're going to have two different kind of conditions to look at. The first is going to be the crank to fire. We should find that as we crank the key, it should fire up like stock. The second is going to be the warm-up enrichment. So as it's warming up and as our coolant temperature is getting warmer and warmer here, what we should see is that our short and long-term trims and the closed loop correction should be reasonable. They shouldn't be adding a whole bunch of fuel or taking a bunch of fuel out. And we fired it off in that second video right after we uploaded the file. We found that our short term was adding a bunch of fuel, and that's because our injector dead time was off and our fuel table was off. So now we've went in on a warm engine. We've dialed all of our fuel values in here for idle and part throttle. So we'll find we can look at this if we fire off the engine and take a look at that warm-up enrichment. And specifically, as we're talking about this, let's jump into calibration and take a look at this. We're very clear under our fuel here, under coolant temp, we're going to find our water temp fuel compensation low and high. These values here are going to be a multiplier against the main table. So if we need more fuel, if we're noticing if we fire it off now that our main fuel table has been tuned properly on a warm engine, if we're firing it off and we see that the short or the long-term trim is going to be populating and adding a bunch of fuel, we would jump in here at the coolant temperature we're seeing right here, and we would add fuel to correct it. We want to have our trims here in closed loop not adding or subtracting fuel. We want it to be reasonable. Plus or minus 5% is completely fine. I'm not going to worry about that. But anything outside of that, again, when we fired it off in that second video, it was pretty lean. It was adding 15%, 18%. So we had to correct things pretty quickly. So we should find it's going to be adequate now. Everything should be dialed in pretty reasonable. So we'll review our data log of the crank to fire, as well as taking a look at that warm-up enrichment and see how it's going to go. And as we are talking about this and have our window open here, we do have our air fuel commanded. This is going to be commanding what the air fuel should be at different load points. If we're in closed loop, or if we're in open loop, we kind of just explored that, and we should understand how it's going to go from the other videos. Now, as we're talking about this real quick here, let's jump into closed loop. We do have this lambda section here. We see closed loop target lambda, and we're going to find here that we specify a target lambda amount. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.